Hello everybody and welcome back to an episode of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Trials and Tribulations. Today, I think we're finishing the trial. Let's see how long it takes for me to get absolutely lost in one of the cross-examinations. Now then, before we proceed any further, I'm going to have the results of the test we performed earlier. Oh, the knife blood test? Yes, test. Or the bloody dagger that was found stuck in the pine tree. Oh yeah, that. I totally forgot about it. That's the weapon that Maya Fey used when she fought with the victim. So what are the results? Was it the victim's blood, or... Due to the time constraints, a full test was impossible. However, there's one thing we can say with certainty. The blood that was on this dagger was not the victim's blood. Oh, really? That is all. What, we don't know whose blood it is? So it wasn't Misty's blood on the dagger. Then whose was it? It's Maya's blood then, yeah? That's like the only option, because she was stabbed? And according to Iris's testimony, Maya did take the dagger and throw it. But if Elise's blood isn't on it, or I guess Misty, if Misty's blood isn't on it, then that means Maya couldn't have stabbed her. Oh, but no, the murder weapon was the staff, wasn't it? I'm sure both the defense and the prosecution know this, but this trial is rapidly coming to a close. Both sides will need to show some firm evidence with their claims. I understand, Your Honor. From what I've heard, the witness is dangerously weak, physically speaking. Oh, Maya, right. So let's finish this quickly. Agreed. Very well. Please bring in the last witness. Hey, Maya. Long time no see. Witness, please tell us your name and profession. Maya Fey. My profession is, I'm the assistant manager at Wright & Co. Law Offices. Maya. According to the magazine I have here, you're a spirit medium with the Korean channeling technique. I'm frightened. The Fey clan, I don't want any more to do with it. Oh, Maya. The pain the Fey bloodline causes must be unbearable. Very well. Now then, Miss Fey. When the event occurred, you were in the garden of the Inner Temple. And you witnessed the moment of Miss Elise Denham's murder. Is this correct? I didn't see any... Straighten up this instant, young lady. Huh? Pick your head up and speak clearly. There's always time for crying later. But Your mother was killed right in front of your eyes. There's nothing you can do to change that fact. But there's something you can do. You can finish this. You've been watching the whole thing, right? You've seen the witness come out and you've seen her squeeze the truth out of him. Now it's your turn. Let's hear your testimony. On the night of the crime, what exactly did you see happen? Witness, if you please. Yes, Your Honor. At the Inner Temple. Okay. I was passing through the garden on the way to the spare prep room when it happened. Suddenly, someone struck me over the head. I stumbled and ended up against the stone lantern. I think I screamed, "Help me!" But then something warm splashed over me. That's when I lost consciousness. Something warm. Blood? I'm assuming. So you were struck on the head. I suppose it must have been this staff. Maya, the person who hit you. It was Dahlia Hawthorne, wasn't it? I'm sorry, Nick. I couldn't see. I don't know who it was. Maya, think hard. Sorry, Nick, but I really couldn't. Huh. Can't say it was an especially good night for young ladies to be walking around alone. So why weren't you in the training hall like you were supposed to be? It seems that it would be hard to determine the criminal through testimony alone. Very well then, Mr. Wright. Please begin your cross-examination. Maya, hang in there. She doesn't look well at all. Well, I probably wouldn't look well either if I was just exercised. Who else was on the Inner Temple side that night? Well, Sister Bikini, of course. But I remember her saying that Iris would be coming later as well. On the day after the incident, Edgeworth met Bikini at Hazakura Temple. That means she couldn't be the criminal. So then, did Iris actually come later like she said? Well, let me think. She seems confused, probably because she's so tired. No, I'm sure I didn't see her. She must have come while I was preparing for the training. Someone struck you over the head. Who did it? Who hit you? Well, I didn't see who it was. I was hit from behind. You didn't see the person? But after that, your attacker was in front of you. How could you not see who it was? Oh, let me think for a sec. I'm sorry, I just can't remember. Maya's really having a hard time. What should I do? Press her harder. She knows my game. Come on, Maya, this isn't making sense. Why didn't you see this person? Well, let me think. It was, oh yeah, that's right. It was dark, that's it. It was dark? It's not good to have too much light around when someone is undergoing spiritual training. Come to think of it, there was an earlier testimony to that effect as well. So it was dark in the garden the night of the crime. Which is why she didn't see her attacker. I thought maybe she was trying to hide something, but I guess not. Judging by the testimony thus far, the identity of the attacker was most likely the spirit that was channeled by Elise de Nim, Dahlia Hawthorne. Very well, please continue with the testimony. What happened after you were struck on the head? You ended up against a stone lantern. What happened afterwards? My attacker was in front of me, blocking off my escape, I think. You think? After getting hit like that, I was in a state of panic. There were only two things rolling around in my mind at the time. Well now, this is beginning to get interesting. So what were the two things rolling around your mind? My name is Maya Fey. 1 + 1 = 2. Why? You see, for some crazy reason, I was afraid I was going to lose my memory. I know it's odd, considering my life was in danger, but that's how it was. That's not odd at all. Your actions are understandable, given the circumstances. So, what'd you do then? You think you screamed, but you're not sure. Listen, I was a complete wreck. It was dark and I couldn't see my attacker. Was it a man? A woman? Adult? Child? I had no idea. I was scared of my wits. Believe me, my dear. I'm certain I would have soiled my robes. I thought this person might attack me, so I... Anyway, I'm pretty sure I screamed. I thought that was my last hope. Wow, it sounds like poor little Maya really was out of her mind. But I wonder what she meant by last hope. What do I do? Do I press her for more details? Absolutely. Wait a minute, Maya. What's this my last hope stuff? What? What do you mean by your last hope? No. That's what you said. You said my last hope. Huh? What? I said what? Look, you were facing an attacker that you couldn't see and you screamed, right? You screamed, help me. Yeah. But you testified that you screamed that because you thought it was your last hope. Oh, well, you know, that's like, what do you call it when that happens? Maya's not doing so well up there. Oh yeah, oh, that's right. I remember now. I was facing my attacker, but that's not who I was screaming at. What did you just say? Yeah, that's right. It was the person behind my attacker that I was yelling at. That's who I was screaming to for help. What is it now? I messed up. I didn't mean to let that slip out. Huh? Witness, are you absolutely sure of what you're saying? Behind the attacker, there was another person? I am... Well, I meant to keep that part a secret. What have I done? It was Pearls, wasn't it? Did she stab Elise because it was a backstab? Huh. It takes a ton of pressure to make a diamond. That's what I always say. A ton of pressure? You're in a court of law here. You can't make things up or try to hide things in this chamber. Witness, the information you just presented is vital to the case. Way to add it to your testimony. Wait, you can see a man behind the attacker? A man? A man? Who? Couldn't have been Larry. Edgeworth wasn't even in the country. I'm pretty sure Bikini is a woman. Gumshoe wasn't there. Godot wasn't there, at least not as far as I know. Well, you see, I couldn't see. You couldn't see? She's used this excuse twice now. Well, you know, lantern light isn't very bright. Lantern light, did you say? There's a great big stone lantern in the garden. They always light it when an acolyte is in there for training. Hey, you know what they say? Under the lantern, darkness reigns. So I could see the person that was further away, but not my attacker who was closer. Plus, there weren't any other light sources in the garden at the time. That lantern... Yeah, it was not lit the night of the crime. Yeah, and something warm splashed over you. We'll go ahead and just do the rest of the presses. You don't mean... Was it... I didn't know it at the time, but... I think it was probably blood. She's saying that's when Mr. Nim, who was channeling Dahlia, was stabbed in the back by the killer? At that moment, I was paralyzed with fear. I was just sitting there in the snow. I'm sure blood got on everything around me. Something lost consciousness. I think she's lying about it being a man to hide that it was Pearl. So what happened next? I don't remember. How were you saved? You don't even remember that. No. I haven't got any idea. I really don't know what happened at all. That's too bad. I've worked side by side with Maya for 2 years now. I can tell when she's trying to hide something by how she acts. And right now, I'm absolutely certain she's hiding something. Okay. Do I want to press the other one? I'll do it in case there's something important there. But... Oh, I can't. Okay, you couldn't see a thing. Objection! So there was a man standing behind your attacker. Yeah. That man, he's the killer. He stabbed her from behind. He's the one who killed Elise Nim. Otherwise known as Misty Faye, your mother. The killer? Maya, you know who killed your mother, don't you? What is the meaning of this, Mr. Wright? To be frank, Your Honor, I think she's in shock and quite confused. That's why she hasn't noticed a huge problem with her testimony. Huh? What do you mean? What problem? Maya, on the night of the crime, that stone lantern was out of commission. Huh? What? It's true. There was no light anywhere in the garden that night. No! Order the court! But Mr. Godot, explain this. Even though Phoenix Wright said it, you explain it to me. Add the pureness of milk to the perfect clear darkness of the coffee. Stir. That is the state of the witness's mind right now. A cup of cafe au lait. Cafe au lait? Is that even legal? Mr. Tratt's words are the milk and you are the spoon. Your Honor, I'm a spoon? I'm no spoony Bartle, have you know. You must have noticed it too, Tratt. This witness's mental state is highly unstable right now. It's not hard to understand why she would make a little mistake like that. Sorry, but that's not gonna cut it. What did you say? If there was truly no light in the garden, then there's a fatal contradiction in the witness's last bit of testimony. Nick? May I? Recall the witness's statement about her attacker. She said that she didn't know if it was a man or a woman, an adult or a child. And yet, the witness could describe a person that was standing behind her attacker, and she quite clearly described him as a man. In other words, that would have to mean that Maya actually saw her mystery person, despite it being so dark that she couldn't even see the face of her own attacker. No! Order! What in the world does this all mean, Mr. Wright? Are you saying that Miss Faye saw the real killer under pitch black conditions? Objection! Tratt, do you have any idea what you're proposing? How could she have seen it in the dark? There was no other light source at the scene. There are some things that you can only see in the dark, Mr. Godot. Maya, you did see who the killer was in the dark. And now, you're trying to cover for him. Cover? For the man that killed her mother? There's only one conclusion I can draw from this. You know who this man is. Please, Nick. I don't know anything. Please, I'm begging you. You talk a good game, Trat. Well, let's see if you can walk the walk. Sure, let me just save first. It was pitch black, so what could the witness see? I'm calling your bluff. No, Nick, don't! Please, stop! Maya's dead set on protecting this guy. The man who murdered Maya's long-lost mother. But I can't let him get away with it. I'm a lawyer, an officer of the court. I'm here to find the truth. Alright, Mr. Wright, time to show us what you've got. Who is this person that you say Miss Faye saw in the darkness? Unfortunately, not a man. Well, things you can only see in the dark. I mean, your visor lights up in the dark, but I don't think it was you. I don't want to put the blame on Pearl, though. Oh man. Now I really am stuck between two people. I mean, why would Maya be trying to cover for Godot? Pearl. Looks like you proved a well-known fact. The fact that people really can't see in the dark. Okay. Don't throw your coffee at me. So, it doesn't make sense. But the only man it could have been is Godot. Because it was pitch black, Miss Faye was able to recognize the killer easily. I'm sure the court would like to see it for itself how this is possible, yes? What? But how do you propose to show us something like that? It's easy. We just need to recreate the conditions of that night. Conditions? Your Honor, the defense officially requests that all the lights in this courtroom be turned off. Well, this is... but it can't be. That was an aspect of deduction. Trat. Well, everyone, this is the man Maya saw on the night of the murder. You were there? Prosecutor Godot, what is the meaning of this? Surely you must be shocked to hear yourself accused of such a thing. Why are you denying it? Your Honor, you're asking the wrong person. Remember that. If you got a question, ask a witness. It's one of my rules. Well, Maya, how about it? What you saw that night? Was it 3 glowing red lights? Well, witness, answer the question. You're wrong. I never saw that. Maya? I thought the person that stabbed my mother was a man. For a totally different reason. What? Witness? Mr. Wright, what the... Stop your chattering, Your Honor. Chattering? If it's worth asking, ask the witness. It's one of my rules. Alright. Well then, let's continue with the testimony. Please tell us how you knew the killer was a man. Yes, Your Honor. I didn't realize it until after I woke up, but... When I came to, I was just lying there on the training hall floor. By the time I got back to the garden, the place had totally changed. The torches were lit, and the body was gone. And all the snow around the stone lantern had been carefully cleaned up, too. Since the person did all that work alone, I just assumed he was a man. Hmm. So it was after the crime took place that the witness came to think that the killer was a man. Yes, that's right. I'm sorry, Your Honor, No need to apologize. Just as Mr. Godot said, you're utterly exhausted. It's only natural that you would be a little confused. Also, if you consider the situation you described, it doesn't seem too much of a stretch to assume the culprit was a man. Mr. Wright, proceed with your cross-examination. Okay. Hold it! So you lost consciousness when you were in the garden, is that right? Yes, I think it happened when the victim was stabbed. So then the person that carried you into the inner temple, it could only have been the killer. That's what I think too. So the killer carried Maya into the inner temple. Place had changed. Naturally, the killer must have done it, right? Yes, I think so. But why would the killer tamper with the crime scene like that? There must have been something that the killer desperately wanted to hide. I don't know. Looks like she doesn't have enough confidence. I think I need to gather some more information before I ask her again. Okay. What was that? Okay. The torches were lit. Yes, that's how I noticed that the whole scene had changed. I'm gonna say it was the killer who lit the torches. I mean, who else could it be? The killer probably lit them since it'd be impossible to do any cover-up work in the dark. However, if that's true, there's one thing that still bothers me. Why did the killer go to the effort of moving the body? That's true. It's hard to see how that would be of any advantage to the killer. The only one who could gain anything from that would be the only person that was at the inner temple, Maya. Very well, let me hear some more about the condition of the crime scene. And all the snow around the snowman had been carefully cleaned up too. So, you're saying the killer cleaned up the snow? It did look really odd. The snow was removed in an unnatural-looking rectangular shape around the lantern. There were a lot of shovels around the inner temple, but they're all really heavy. Way too heavy for me to use. Heavy shovel? Trying to think if there are any shovels that I know of that are actually, like, too heavy for humans to use. I mean, there are heavy shovels, sure, but too heavy to use? Well, maybe those, like, big industrial shovels, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I don't know of any shovels like that. An odd fellow indeed, this killer. Why on earth would anyone want to take snow away? Well, there's one thing I can think of. Didn't you say that a lot of the victim's blood sprayed onto the snow? Yeah. The area I collapsed in ended up being splattered. In other words, the killer's purpose was to hide the bloody snow. I think that's the most reasonable explanation. Perhaps. However, there's something that's bothering me. If the killer just wanted to hide the snow with blood on it, there was no need to remove that amount. That's true. He could have scooped up just the snow that was stained with blood. It looks like there are some mysteries behind this issue. But I think this will help explain them. Okay, since the person did all that work, I assumed it was just a man. So, you're saying that you never saw the killer, right? Yes. But earlier, you very clearly stated that you saw a man behind your attacker. Nick, I'm sorry. The killer certainly went through a lot of trouble. Moving the body by pendulum, manipulating the crime scene. But for what purpose? Why do all that? Maybe Maya knows more than she's letting on. Okay, do I have enough information to get more out of you here? The truth is, when I saw the crime scene, I felt something. You did? Yes. I felt like the killer was hiding the evidence for me. For my sake. What? Hiding it for you? Everyone knew that I was the only one at the inner temple that night. If Sister Bikini had come back and looked at the garden, she may have thought that you had done it. No, she definitely would have thought so. And you're saying that's why the killer... Do I smell pizza? I don't know. Suddenly just like a smell of something from the kitchen hit my nose. Clean up the crime scene to make it look like nothing had happened. Yes, I'm sure of it. Oh, now I'm hungry. Oh, now I want pizza. Well, it's certainly an important piece of information. I want you to add that to your testimony. Yes, Your Honor. Yeah, I think it was for my sake the killer cleaned up the evidence of what happened. They did it for your sake. Well, if the body and the body... Wait, what? Oh, if the body and the blood hadn't been removed, I would have immediately been the prime suspect, right? Yes, I suppose it's true. Yeah, and if that happened, the body would have caused some other problems, too. If her real identity had come out right then, it would have been terrible. Master of Crane killed by own daughter. I don't think Maya would have been able to handle it. But still, it's rather difficult to fathom the killer's motives. What reason is there to go through that much trouble to protect you? You're saying it was for my sake the killer cleaned up the evidence of what happened. They didn't completely clean up. This was still in the garden. I don't know if that's what we, if that's what we're going with here, but... That is, well... No, because of the lantern. Your name is written on it. I'm gonna save in case this isn't right, but... Okay. The body of Elisa Nim was carried all the way to Hazakura Temple's courtyard. Then at the garden, the real scene of the crime. The snow that we suspect was covered in blood was scooped up and removed. It's reasonable to believe all this was done in an attempt to hide the true crime scene. However, there's still one matter that seems somewhat odd. Oh? What would that be? You must have figured it out by now, Mr. Godot. It's the message written in blood on the lantern. It was written very clearly on the white stone lantern. Maya. If the killer was so motivated to protect Maya from suspicion, then why didn't they wipe the writing off the lantern? But, Mr. Wright, isn't it a fact that the killer was trying to cover up the crime scene? Indeed, but it doesn't make much sense to move the body and remove the bloody snow. Then not wipe off the most incriminating thing of all, the bloody writing. But if that's the case, do you have an explanation for the killer's mysterious behavior? No, I don't, actually. Why would this killer move the body and remove all that snow? Not leave the bloody writing on the lantern. I don't know what the killer's plan was, but it's a fact that the killer left the writing on the lantern. There must be a reason for it. Well then, Mr. Wright, let's hear your opinion. Why did the killer leave the message written in blood on the lantern? The killer didn't notice it. I think... Yeah, the killer didn't notice. Prosecutor Godot, earlier in this trial, you gave me some good advice. Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. Maybe you're not as dumb as I thought. The real killer wanted to disguise the fact that a crime had occurred there. If that's the case, they wouldn't have left the bloody writing on the stone lantern on purpose. Therefore, it must mean that they didn't notice it. But that doesn't make any sense. The torches were all lit and everything. There's no way any normal person would miss something as glaring as that. You're right. There's no way any normal person would. What? What are you trying to say, Mr. Wright? There's only one person involved in this incident. Who could have missed seeing the bloody writing altogether? And who would that be? Who is the person that could have failed to notice the bloody writing? It was Godot, because he didn't notice it earlier. Mr. Godot, this is what you said yesterday. My eyesight is pretty messed up. Even with these huge goggles on my head, still can't see everything. You can't see everything? Is that correct, Mr. Godot? This lantern was submitted as evidence today. I would like the court to think back to the moment it was first presented. This lantern, there's something written on it. Why? It's written in blood. Nonsense. This lantern, it's as clear as a whistle. Mr. Godot, just admit it. There are certain colors you can't see. Correct? You can't see red on a white background, can you? That's right. We went through this once before. During the poisoning case at Tribien, did we? Oh, right, he couldn't see it. Oh, he couldn't... I remember this now. This is the apron that the delightful Miss Bird was wearing at the time. Somehow spilled coffee on it. There's something still bothering me, Mr. Godot. Why have you not explained the bloodstain to the court? Bloodstain? What bloodstain would that be? I played games, prosecutor. The blood-colored stain that's smeared all over the apron. That's ridiculous. No one told me anything about a bloodstain. You can see the coffee on the white apron, but you couldn't see the ketchup because it was red. Huh. It's strange. In a black and white photo, those letters would have appeared black to me. I wonder, why am I the only one that can't see them? So then, Mr. Godot, are you admitting it? Are you actually admitting that you can't see the red writing on the lantern? You can't see the, charm either, then. Well, there's still, like, yellow on it, though. Hey, Gramps, didn't you know that the reason why I don't drink red tea? There's red tea? I wasn't sure about it until now, but I just can't believe it. Prosecutor Godot is the murderer? But there's no going back now. I finally figured out the truth. Mr. Godot, the defense at this time formally accuses you. You are the murderer of Miss Elisa Nim, also known as Miss Misty Fey. It's hard to believe this may be true. However, once again, Mr. Wright has brought up a disquieting fact about you. Huh. Just make sure you don't fill out the indictment in red ink, Gramps. Come on. How does a little graffiti make me into the killer? Besides, it's not like it's my name that's written there. I'm certain that the killer wasn't able to see the color red. This is rich. Do you go on, try it? The answer is right there at the crime scene. In the snow. The snow? How so? Well, for example, why did the killer move all that snow? Your Honor, you said it yourself. If he wanted to hide the bloody snow, why not take out just that area? Yes, why didn't he take out just the area? Ah! Could it be? Yes, the killer couldn't see the red blood that had seeped into the snow. And so, he had to remove all the snow. He couldn't be sure of where the blood had landed, so he removed the whole area. Isn't it more likely that the killer couldn't see the blood because it was dark? Torches were lit. Not a chance. The torches were all lit. He would have been able to see just fine. It seems that once again, this trial has taken an unexpected turn, to say the least. Can you explain this, Mr. Godot? Ooh, hold it. Wait just a minute. Maya? What is it, witness? Mr. Godot isn't the killer. After all, he didn't even come to the Inner Temple until 2 days after the murder took place. He didn't show up until after that old bridge got fixed up. How do you know that? Objection. Maya. You can't testify to something like that. Why? What do you mean? I may not look it, but I'm... After the murder happened, you didn't even exist. She didn't? I'm afraid I don't follow. Are you senile, old man? We established this just a little while ago. After the murder, this witness was unconscious for a long time. Because she was channeling Dahlia Hawthorne. Oh, that's right. Please, Your Honor, let me add to my testimony. Nick, please listen to me. Maya, do you plan to cover for Godot no matter what the cost? If that's the case, then I've got no choice. Your Honor, let's hear her testimony. If it means we're going to hear the whole truth, I say we should not silence her. Ha! Nicely done, Trat. Very well, let's hear the witness's testimony. After I woke up, I began channeling and my spirit left me, as it were. But little Pearlie was there at the Inner Temple, too. Pearlie was also stuck at the Inner Temple side that night. The next morning, she looked around but couldn't find anyone. The next day, when the bridge was finally fixed, she was in the spare prep room. That's when Mr. Godot arrived at the Inner Temple for the first time. He found Pearlie first and cheered her right up. Who is this Pearlie? It's my little cousin, Pearl Fay. So when did you hear about this? Oh, just a while ago, when I was in the medical office. I'm terribly sorry, but what you heard from someone else is simply not admissible as testimony. Oh, come on! Pearlie would never tell a lie. She's a way more honest person than I'll ever be. Real smart, Maya. You always know the best things to say when you're under oath. Prosecution has no objection. We believe the witness. But Mr. Godot, let's just move on to the cross-examination, if the defense has no objections. This is highly unusual, but, well, Mr. Wright, let's get this cross-examination started. Why are you covering for Godot? Does it have anything to do with Mia? I don't know. So where did you... Wait. So where do you think Pearl slept that night? I don't think I've ever seen a typo in this franchise until just now. And the spare prepper mix the training hall, I guess. There's a rule that you can't enter the training hall during an acolyte's training. But even so, why did she go to the inner temple in the first place? It seems that Pearl became very worried about Maya. She knew that the spiritual training I was about to undergo was very intense. Pearl was supposed to channel Dahlia Hawthorne, but she couldn't do it. That's why she headed to the inner temple. However, Dahlia Hawthorne was already there, possessing the body of Elise de Nim. Next morning, she looked around but couldn't find anyone. She searched the entire inner temple side, end to end. Well, you see, Pearlie gets pretty scared when she's alone, and there weren't that many places to look. She says that she even went back and forth several times. The inner temple side has two structures, the training hall and a spare prep room. And there's a storage shack, I think. That's about it. There's a storage shack, too? Pearls was looking for other people, right? Would she have really examined a storage shack all that carefully? Well, if it was me, that would be the first place I'd investigate. So that means it's possible that someone may have been hiding in the storage shack. To be fair, Godot also wasn't around during that first trial. And was replaced with, Franziska until he could get off the island. Pearls didn't hear the sound of them working on the bridge? What do you mean? I was just wondering why she would stay in the prep room. If it was me, I'd at least go out and wait at the foot of the bridge. Oh, well, Pearlie says she was sleeping at the time. She says she was so scared during the night that she couldn't sleep well and woke up a bunch of times. Poor little girl. All alone like that. Oh, we know that she had at least one friend in the Sacred Cavern. Dahlia Hawthorne, who was busy battling with the tricky lock. She couldn't let anyone see her, so she wouldn't have shown herself to Pearls. What happened if the bridge is finally fixed? So it was your first time on the inner temple side, Mr. Godot? That's funny. Am I imagining things to the defense asking me a question? Mr. Wright, please save your questions for the witness. What you heard from someone else is simply not admissible as testimony. Those are your words, Your Honor. Touché, Mr. Wright. Oh well, what do you have to say, Mr. Godot? Hot nights and even hotter coffee. That's what I always say. If I hadn't been for this case, I never would have visited there. Freezing cold temple in the mountains? I think I'll pass. So he had never visited Hazakura Temple or the Inner Temple, huh? Huh, you want to say something, Trat? In any case, I have to find a crack in Godot's armor. While I cross-examine Maya, that is. Very well, please go on with your testimony. After fixing the bridge, the policeman came over to the Inner Temple side, right? Yes, the Mr. Godot. He found Pearlie first and cheered her right up. You cheered her up? That's what Pearlie said. She said that he was a very nice old gentleman. Thank you for looking for my cousin, Mr. Godot. And here I was thinking you were nothing more than a coffee addict. Ha! Cut it out. You're making me blush. This guy is really beginning to get on my nerves, in more ways than one. Truth is, there aren't that many places to look on the Inner Temple side. The policemen were all busy going over the garden with the fine-tooth combs. So I decided to carry out an investigation in my own way. Godot style. In the same way. Not the same way, I like to hand down verdicts in my own way, judge style. Maybe I should ask some questions, Phoenix style. Cheering Pearls up. So you cheered Pearls up. When I found that little girl, the first thing she asked about was a cousin, Maya Fey. Really? The bridge had burned down and she was huddled up in that tiny shack with no heat. even though she must have had a truly terrifying night out there. She asked about you before she said a thing about herself. Curly. I noticed that you weren't anywhere on the Inner Temple side, but I couldn't find it in me to tell her that, so I gave her my last cup. Don't give her coffee. Oh, with milk and sugar, to hide the bitterness of the harsh truth. What a sweet story. He had a thermos of coffee? Why doesn't that surprise me? The only thing of importance here, where was Godot when the murder was taking place? He must have already been at the Inner Temple when it happened. Otherwise, he couldn't have killed at least a Nim. Okay, oops. I need to ask about your investigation. You said that you conducted an investigation of your own. Did you find anything? It looks like my investigation went about as well as yours, Trite. After all, I did miss the bloody writing on the lantern. Well, I didn't miss it, so speak for yourself, Goggles. The only odd thing I discovered was the beauty in the training hall. Beauty? Misty Faye, naturally. Clad in her stunning Japanese garb surrounded by the hue and aroma of Western tastes. Western tastes? Could he find a stranger way to describe gravy? So from there you headed for the prep room. Wait a sec, what did Godot just say now? I think I just found his proverbial weak spot. Yeah, no. It was covered. The only way he could have seen it. Do I do it here? I guess. Yeah, the only way he would know that it was a picture of Misty Faye is if he had gone beforehand, because it was covered in gravy. Okay, so that's not where I do it. It must be here, then, for the first time. Mr. Godot, the first time you crossed Dusky Bridge and went into the Inner Temple was long before the murder took place. Well, why do you say that? Because he just made one fatal slip-up. The hanging scroll in the training hall. Hanging scroll? But Mr. Godot is right. That scroll shows a picture of my mother. Maya, I know you know who it is, but here's something you didn't know. By the time the bridge had been repaired, 2 days after the murder, the hanging scroll in the training hall looked like this. What's that wonderfully delicious smell? The morning after the crime, someone covered it with gravy. Gravy? But why gravy, Nick? Because gravy was much more than a condiment to the culprit. Well, Mr. Godot, if you really hadn't seen the hanging scroll until after the murder, you wouldn't have had any way of knowing it was Misty Faye. Wait a minute, Nick. Yes? Take another look at the hanging scroll. Look, at the top, there's a crest there. Ah, that. It's the mark of the master, correct? Exactly. So if you know the meaning of the mark, then you could guess there's a picture of Misty Faye on there. No. True, but Mr. Godot described what was underneath like this. Clad in her stunning Japanese garb surrounded by the hue and aroma of Western tastes. Oh. Yes, it's possible that he knew what the crest meant. However, he couldn't have known that she was wearing Japanese clothing. Mr. Godot, on the day of the murder, you were hiding at the Inner Temple long before the crime took place. Can I ask you just one little thing, Trot? What is it? This whole theory of yours. It all rests on a certain assumption. That I knew beforehand that a crime was going to be committed. That's right. Otherwise, there's no reason for him to sneak onto the crime scene. Of course Mr. Godot knew about the plan. Huh? What'd you say? Is it really possible that another person knew of that plan? Maybe? Mia? Okay, in my head. Yeah, okay. You're right. A mere guess is unacceptable. To be fair, in my head, I thought, you know, maybe Mia knew somehow because like she's just a Fey Master and she can see what's going on, and she warned Godot about it, and he went to stop it. I'll put more thought into this. I'll put more thought into it this time, I swear. Oh, like Iris, right? No. Oh yeah, this was opened once before. Take that. This crime was actually planned over a year ago. Also, I decided to just cut ahead and meet you guys when I figured it out. I was looking through all of these for like a minute or two. This crime was actually planned over a year ago. Morgan Fay authored the plan for her daughter's future, and these instructions were hidden somewhere in Fay Manor for a year. However, by the time Little Pearls found these instructions, they had already been unsealed. Unsealed? Yes, the killer had read these instructions long before Pearls ever found them. That's how he knew the crime was to take place at the Inner Temple. And you still insist the crafty killer is me. You bet I do. But you just said that the instructions were hidden. That's right. Mr. Godot couldn't have known where the instructions were hidden. If you really wanted to know, he had one great chance to find out. Yes, and what was that? During a visit. A visit? Morgan Fay told her daughter, Pearl, about where the instructions were hidden. During one of her visits to the detention center. That'd be the only time for someone to have learned where they were hidden. Eavesdropping on a visit at the detention center? Yes, it could be arranged if you were someone with easy access in and out of there. Like, for example, a prosecutor such as Mr. Godot. Order, order! Mr. Godot, you're under fire again. This murder cannot have been carried out without prior knowledge. And you. You were the only one that could have acquired this information before the murder. Humans are afraid of the dark. And yet, at the same time, we're fascinated and bewitched by it. Maybe that's why humans drink the darkness as coffee. I don't drink it. Sorry for always asking, but what does that mean? It means there's a reason for everything. According to your theory, the killer in this case eavesdropped on a conversation during a jail visit where he learned of the hidden plan for a crime. After discovering the plans, he hid in the Inner Temple and waited for the crime to occur. Then he ultimately took a person's life. And he did all of that just to protect this witness. That's right. If you're accusing me of this crime, I have to ask you, why would I do this? This girl is nothing but a stranger to me. Not true. I've got no reason to go through that kind of trouble to protect her. I am what you see. I'm certainly not the type to rescue the damsel in distress. The killer's behavior is certainly extreme, for lack of a better word. Even considering that the killer wanted to protect this witness's life, his behavior is still a little too unnatural. However, you had a good reason, didn't you, Mr. Godot? An unshakable reason that forced you to protect this witness at all costs. I knew it. You figured it out, haven't you, Nick? Maya, I guess you were doing your best to cover for Godot. For the same reason, huh? Okay, Tret, I'm all ears. Let's hear it. It's very simple. Maya Fey is a lot more than just a stranger to you. What's this? There's one person who lies at the very center of this whole story. One person that ties you and Maya Fey together inextricably. There's a very good reason why Maya Fey's life is so precious to you. After all, she is Mia Fey's only sister. Mia Fey? You once worked alongside her. That was when you were a defense attorney. Wait a second here. Mr. Godot is a defense attorney? With your Honor's piercing intellect, he must have figured it out by now. The real name of this man who calls himself Godot. His real name is Diego Armando. Isn't that right? The last time someone called me by that name was over 6 years ago. Diego Armando? That name rings a bell. Should, Your Honor. All this is related to a single case. A case in which a convict named Terry Falls killed himself. Mia Faye's first time in court. The tragic outcome left a deep wound in her heart. She knew that behind it all was a heartless, scheming demoness in disguise. But in the end, Mia couldn't tear off that disguise. However, there was one man who reached out to help her. Diego Armando, a senior defense attorney at the office where Mia worked. It's my fault. It's all my fault that Mr. Falls killed himself. Mia, you can't cry yet. The only time a lawyer can cry is when it's all over. I was moved by her. The way she put all her faith in her clients. That pure sweet heart of hers. That's why I could never forgive Dahlia Hawthorne. Mia and I thoroughly investigated that fake kidnapping incident. Then one fateful day, Dahlia wanted to meet with me. It had been 6 months since the trial. We met in the courthouse cafeteria. I just remembered. 6 years ago, right here in this courthouse, you were poisoned. Even I didn't see it coming. Dahlia Hawthorne slipped some poison into my coffee. Some newspapers at the time called it a murder. But very little information about the case was released to the press. But you weren't dead at all. No official reports ever actually called it a murder. I was just in a deep, deep coma. You see, my body shut down and my life became nothing but a long, deep sleep. That woman's poison had a real number on my central nervous system. I lost my sight, and all my hair turned white due to the damage it caused. That's terrible. Apparently, it was a miracle that I ever regained consciousness. 5 years had passed since I drank that poison brew. Then one morning, my eyes flew open, from the smell of a doctor's cup of coffee. 5 years? You were asleep for 5 years? And the worst possible news was waiting for me. Yeah. Mia Faye was dead. From the very moment I opened my eyes, I had already lost everything I thought I had. That woman I loved had been murdered, and that woman I loathed had been sentenced to death. The woman you loathed? The woman who had spiked my scalding hot coffee. Dahlia Hawthorne. Ha! Good old Mia. She didn't let me down. She got her revenge before she checked out. In the end, there wasn't anyone waiting for me when I woke up. That's so sad. For someone like me, for someone who had slept away their best days, there were only 2 reasons left to live. And it was for those... Yeah?
There's pork chop and vegetables in there. You better get some now, so I gotta cook some more so I can take to work.
Okay. So that wasn't pizza I smelled earlier, it was pork chop, and my mom really wanted me to eat, like, right now. So, I paused for a minute to break, or to eat. And it was for those 2 reasons I decided to become a prosecutor. If I may ask, what were your 2 reasons to live? The first was you, Trat. Huh? Me? If I hadn't drank that stupid poison, Mia Faye would never have died, much less the way she did. What does that have to do with me? You were the only one that was there to protect her, but you let her die. It was all your fault. It wasn't like that. I wanted to see for myself what kind of a man you really were. So that's why you became a prosecutor? My other reason for living? She goes by the name of Mia Faye. Huh? You mean me? You were the only way I could make up for the sin of not saving Mia. 1 year ago, when the Corain Village incident was resolved, it was obvious that Morgan Faye was planning something. Whatever her evil plan was, I was determined to stop it. My role as a prosecutor put me in the perfect position to do something about her. That's how you overheard Pearl's visit with Morgan at the detention center. I knew that the time was drawing near. Since I knew the plan, I thought I could foil it. My goal was to outwit the plan. I thought if I could do that, I could keep that girl from being caught up in it. That makes sense. If Pearls had known that the actual purpose of the plan was to kill Maya, she never would have helped out. Finally, the day of the plan was drawing near. I contacted both my accomplices. Accomplices? Iris of Hazakura Temple and Misty Faye. I especially needed the help of Iris. She was to take the fall of my backup plan in case we couldn't control Pearl Faye. But how did you contact my mother? She had been missing for almost 20 years. Officially, yes. What? What do you mean officially? You've heard about it, haven't you? About the strong ties from the main family and the government? Now that you mention it, Bikini did say something to that effect. She said that the Master of Crane had great authority. Even without an official position, my Misty Faye still wielded great influence. The police have been keeping an eye on her movements all this time. That's how I was able to contact her. Again, because of my position as a prosecutor. So my mother was cooperating with you? Don't ever forget. No matter how far away from you she was, she never stopped thinking about you. She was always... That's why I knew she would do anything to protect you. If you want to know how strong and resolved to protect you was, look at her staff. Her staff? The one with the sword in it? The day the plan was to be carried out arrived soon enough. We met for the first time at Hazakura Temple. That's when your mother showed me her special staff. I realized it then, just how far she was willing to go. She was ready to use that sword to protect you from Morgan Faye if necessary. Yes, even if it meant paying the ultimate price. Mother... That night, the night of the crime, there was just one way to stop Morgan's evil plan. You mean Pearls, don't you? We had to make sure she didn't channel Dahlia Hawthorne. Well, Pearl, what are you gonna do tonight? Well, if you'd like, you can come to my room. Perhaps I can read some books together. Oh, that's why she didn't question the letter, because she knew about it. That would prevent her from playing her part in Morgan's plan. But she never showed up. She was worried and followed me to the inner temple. That was the thing we were most afraid of. And that's why Misty Faye had to do the channeling herself. She channeled Dahlia Hawthorne in her own body. What? What do you mean? If she channeled the spirit first, then Pearls wouldn't be able to do it herself. As a Master of Kurain, Misty Faye's power was supreme. So that's how it went down. She channeled Dahlia Hawthorne so that Pearl Faye wouldn't be able to. Okay, I'm following you so far. What? Is this true? My role in the plan was to make sure no one was going to hurt Maya Faye. That's why I hid myself in the inner temple. Just in case you needed to be safe from Dahlia Hawthorne. Godot. Anyway, that's all I'm going to admit to. Try it. There's no doubt about it. You're a great defense attorney. But you're going to have to do the rest yourself. The background leading up to the incident has been laid bare. There's just one question remaining, Mr. Wright. Who killed the victim? There are only two possible suspects right now. Maya Faye, and I'm sad to say, you, Mr. Godot. Well, Trat, if you're the real deal, then finish this thing once and for all. Show us beyond a shadow of a doubt that you can finish this on your own. No, Nick! Please don't! Maya, I heard the whole thing from my sister in the medical office. That's why I have to protect Mr. Godot. I can't do it. I can't testify against him. After all, he's the man who put his life on the line to protect Mia. And me too. Maya, I know that. Nick. But even so, it doesn't absolve him of his crime. Please, Maya, testify. Miss Faye, your testimony, please. This is the final testimony. Don't bother trying to hide anything, because I'll know. I want to hear the truth from your own lips. I understand. I'm sure you're right. I'm ready now, Nick. Alright, young lady. Tell us about the moments before you lost consciousness. What exactly happened at the time of the murder? Okay. I just hope that however this ends, I'll hold my thoughts until the trial is over. Just before it happened, I think I saw some red lights. 3 of them. I thought I'd ask for help, but just then I was splattered with blood. She wasn't dead, though, and she struck back at the enemy behind her. Suddenly, the red lights went out and the whole area was dark. Just at that moment, there was a horrible scream. Right after that, Dahlia collapsed and I lost consciousness. These red lights. I thought you said you don't remember seeing them. I'm sorry. I thought I saw them, but then they disappeared all of a sudden. Huh. Things break, Trat. Even the best of theories. Who was it that stabbed Misty Faye? It looks like you still can't prove it. Maya's telling the truth this time, I know it. The rest is up to me. Hold it, Mr. Wright. Proceed with your final cross-examination of the witness. Hold it! Light shining in the dark. I don't think you can make a mistake about that. Yeah, you're right. I think I saw them, but I can't say for certain. And I can't tell you for sure they were from Mr. Godot's mask, either. I don't get the feeling she's covering for him anymore, but press harder. But just after that, you turned towards the lights and called for help. Isn't that because you thought the lights were coming from Mr. Godot's mask? Yeah, I guess so. Maybe that's what I was thinking at the time. But I can't remember. After all, there was a person I couldn't identify in front of me. Maya's life was in terrible danger at the time. There's no way she can remember the details of the scene perfectly. Alright then, let's go on with the testimony. What did you do when you saw the red lights? That blood. Was it Dahlia Hawthorne's blood? I think so, probably. Just at that moment, I heard a soft scream that seemed to be close by. It was a woman's voice. So that was when the killer stabbed the victim from behind with the murder weapon. Is that right? Without a doubt, Maya was in the middle of a really dangerous situation. Anyway, the victim was stabbed by the murder weapon. What happened after that? She wasn't dead, though. Oh, she struck the enemy from behind. Struck back? How do you know that? Well, you're right. I didn't see it exactly, but I could tell by the sounds of their breathing and movement. And also, the smell of blood. You've witnessed more horror than any young lady you should ever have to in one life. So then, what did you do at that point? I couldn't move. I could just barely make out their shadows moving in the dark, but I had no idea what to do. Could you still see the red lights you mentioned earlier? Yes, I think so. But the lights went out and the whole area was dark. They went out? Yes, suddenly I couldn't see them at all. What could it mean? If the red lights were coming from Godot's mask, and they went out right in the middle of a fight, maybe the mask was damaged. Or maybe it was knocked off. Or maybe the batteries ran out. Rat Trat. Maybe those little red pinhead-looking lights just stopped working. What could have really happened then? Okay, there's a horrible scream. What do you mean by just at that moment? Do you mean the moment the red lights went out? Wait a second. Godot, this blood is yours, isn't it? Yes, that's right. The scream that you heard then, was it Dahlia Hawthorne? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it was a man's voice. What? What? So then, the scream came from the killer? That's gotta be it. I think Dahlia Hawthorne must have taken the blade and attacked the killer with it. And then the killer let out a scream of pain, huh? After that, the killer stole the blades back and delivered the final blow. I think. Well, Mr. Wright, It seems to make sense to me. Sounds like a reasonable deduction, but I still kind of wonder. There's a contradiction. I didn't press everything, but that's fine. Sorry to say this, but that interpretation would create an enormous contradiction. I want to save. That makes sense. After all, my deductions are almost certainly never correct. Remember the testimony she gave out, before the killer let out a scream. Maya said she had already been splattered by the victim's blood. In other words, the blade and the staff had already been plunged into the victim. Is that right? She couldn't have struck back with a sword that was already stuck in her body. The weapon that caused the killer to let out a scream. It must have been something other than the staff. If you're so sure about that, then don't keep us waiting any longer, Trite. There's only one thing I can think of that could have been used as a weapon here. If Dahlia Hawthorne had already been stabbed in the back by the staff, what could she have used to strike back at the killer? Dagger! Naturally, the dagger the killer brought to the scene of the crime. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. This dagger was found at the crime scene, stuck into a pine tree. Yes, the detective found this in the morning and brought it to me. Dahlia Hawthorne struck back at the killer with this. And she managed to wound him as well. Just because he let out a scream doesn't mean that he was wounded. For all we know, the blood of the dagger could have been from the victim. Nope. Have you forgotten that the blood has already been tested? Since we learned it wasn't the victim's blood, it must be the killer's blood. The killer must have a wound somewhere on his body. So you're saying the blood on this dagger belongs to the killer? Exactly. A DNA analysis of the blood would prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And yes, Mr. Godot, it would prove that it's your blood. Nice theory, Trite. Order, order! Is this the end? Have I done it? Even he won't be able to change the results of a scientific test. Huh. Let me ask you something, Trite. Let's just say that it turned out that I was the killer. Do you really think I'd be stupid enough to leave evidence like that? What? Just think for a second. This dagger was found up this morning by a detective and brought to me. There was already blood on it, correct? But even so, I was the one who brought in this dagger here to the courtroom. Yes, what does that prove? Well, if I really were the killer, I could have washed the blade off and then planted another person's blood on it. That's... can't be. In any case, there's one thing I can guarantee, Trite. That blood doesn't belong to me. Not a chance. What? In any event, it seems to be established that the killer was wounded. Alright then, witness, continue your testimony. Wait a minute! What's the problem? I know I probably shouldn't say this, but there's a big contradiction in Nick's explanation. But, Maya? This dagger, you said that it wounded the killer. That's right. But, if Mr. Godot had really been cut with the dagger, his clothes should be bloody and have a rip in them, right? Maya... Maybe he just changed his clothes? That'd solve the contradiction pretty easily. What are you talking about? It's not that simple at all. Remember back to the day of the murder? Everyone that was on the inner temple side got trapped there. That's right. And once the bridge was fixed and the police headed for the inner temple, Mr. Godot was already there waiting for them. He never had a chance to change his clothes. Maya's got a good point. Order! What the witness says is true. Well, maybe he brought a change of clothes with him. But no one could have predicted the lightning strike that shut down the bridge. Why would anyone have brought a change of clothes? Did the judge just take smart pills during the last recess? Well then, maybe the killer took off his clothes before he committed the murder. That way he wouldn't get any blood on him. In the cold? That's impossible, Trite. You know how cold it gets up there late at night? After a few minutes with no clothes on, you'd be frozen solid. Ha! So that's all you've got. I knew you weren't tough enough to finish this. Right now, if Mia Fey were here, she would have closed the book on this case already. If Mia Fey were here. So come on, Trat, can you do it or not? How about it, Mr. Wright? You've accused Mr. Godot of being the killer, but can you prove it? Have you got even one piece of evidence? I might. The question isn't whether I can prove it or not. The fact is, I have to prove it. That's the only choice I have. I was taught that it's one of the rules of being a lawyer. I can prove it. I'm gonna bring your magnificent vengeance to fruition, just as you want it. I knew it! I knew this music was gonna kick in at some point during this trial. Ha! That's good. A fighter to the bitter end, Trat. Since there's just one piece of evidence that can prove your point, why don't we go for the unlimited penalty? Are you trying to pressure me, Mr. Godot? Because it doesn't matter to me. I've got the one piece of evidence I need. Give me a break. You've got nothing, Trat. So what do I do at a time like this? It's simple. I gotta think outside the box and approach this from a different angle. Let's hear what you got. Yeah, let me save again real quick. There's one thing I've demonstrated in the previous cross-examination. The killer was wounded. That was proven by the blood on the dagger. But we decided it was impossible for him to have hidden such a wound. If he had been cut by a dagger, there should have been blood stain on his clothing. There's one place the killer could have hidden his wound. Behind his mask. Oh, because yeah, the lights went off. Hidden? This is it. My last stand. I need to think about this from a different angle. I don't need to think about why there's no bloodstains on his clothing. I need to show how he hid the wound. It's the end of the line. The final stop, Trat. Let's hear what you've got. Where's this location where you say the killer hid his wound? What do you mean? Huh. I don't know what you're talking about. Frankly, I don't need to know. What I do know is that you'll never be half the lawyer she was. Did I get it wrong? Isn't that right, Trat? What was that just now? Mia? It can't be. You're living on through him? Even as we speak, you're still hiding the wound. It's beneath your mask. During the fight, the red lights given off by the killer suddenly disappeared. Seconds later, the killer let out a scream. That's right, your mask went flying off your face. Mr. Godot, would you mind removing your mask? If you have a dagger wound under there somewhere, then I say this whole case is solved. You good? I don't think your mask exploding is good for your health. Just now, I saw a spirit in you. I never liked you. 6 years ago, you helped the woman who put me to sleep by hiding her bottle of poison. Not on purpose. And then, while I was sleeping, you let Mia die. But you didn't care. You just kept living your pathetic, happy-go-lucky life. You even had the nerve to follow in her footsteps as a lawyer. I could never forgive you. That's what I thought. Mr. Godot. But I was wrong about you. I knew it from the very beginning. The truth is, the only person I could never find in my heart to forgive is yourself. Was me. You yourself? I was the one that failed to protect Mia. Me and no one else. I tried to avert my eyes from the truth, to escape from the harshness of reality. I just couldn't face Mia's death head on, so I ran. I hid behind a mask. I threw away my true name. I couldn't even deal with being a defense attorney anymore, so I quit. But you saved Maya. Yeah, that was my plan. Up until just now, anyway. Well, what do you mean? Are you listening, Maya? If I had really wanted to save you, then there's one person that I should have gone and talked to right away. Who would that be? Are you talking about Nick? But I didn't do it. I tried to get the help of Iris and your mother, but I closed my eyes to the most important man involved. Do you know why? The real reason. No, why? I suppose I wasn't really interested in saving you at all. Huh? I think I was just trying to salvage what's left of my own broken soul. I was trying to make up for the fact that I couldn't save Mia. Nothing more. That's why I let you walk right into a situation that I knew was dangerous. Forgive me. You're wrong. You put your life on the line to save Maya. Was it really for Maya's sake? Even I'm not really sure. I mean, even if it wasn't, you did still do it. You saved her. Which, thank you, by the way, I guess. But, what do you mean by that? That night, in the darkness of the garden, when I saw her silhouette. Part of me must have known the truth. The truth that it wasn't really Dahlia Hawthorne standing there in front of me. It could have been Misty Faye, or even that little girl. But I still picked up the blade. It was like I was dreaming. I'm not sure exactly what was going on in my mind at that point. Was I really motivated by the pure desire to protect Maya Faye? Or was it something else? Well, luckily it wasn't Pearl. Was it my hatred for a woman who had stolen everything from me 6 years earlier? Could it have been simply a desire for revenge? And now, I don't know anything anymore. I did learn something today, however. I finally realized that I was the arrogant one. I was just chasing an illusion, a fantasy. Stupid fantasy of defeating you in the courtroom. You were the one who made me realize my folly. You never ran away from Mia's death. Instead, you picked up where she left off, as a true defender of the people. In that one moment, I understood everything. Mr. Godot. I think you already know this, but if you don't, my name is Diego Armando. Yeah, we knew. Mr. Armando, I believe in you. I know you were trying to save me. Thanks. Your wound, it's bleeding. Ha! Did you forget already? In my world, the color red doesn't exist. These must be my tears. Tears? Ever since I woke up from my coma, I think I've been waiting for this very moment. Mr. Armando? You do well to remember this, Maya. The only time a lawyer can cry is when it's all over. This time, it really is all over, isn't it? Defendant? Yes, but Your Honor? Although you weren't directly involved in the murder, tampering with the body in the crime scene is still a serious offense in itself. Yeah, you're getting jail time. I understand, Your Honor. Mr. Armando explained that to me very carefully. I knew the risk, and I willingly cooperated anyway. Very well. Before I hand down my verdict, is there anything you'd like to say? Well, there is one thing. I'd like to say something to Mr. Wright. I want to apologize to you. Apologize? To me? For what? For the case 5 years ago. Of course. What about 5 years ago? I just remembered. Weren't you poisoned by your own lover? Not exactly, but yeah, something like that. Even now, 5 years later, I can hardly believe it. She was going to do it. She was planning to kill me. It's not all that surprising. The two of you hardly knew each other. Huh? What do you mean? You and my sister, you only met twice. Was I dating you the whole time? We only met twice? The first time you met was on that fateful day. The day she poisoned Mr. Armando in the cafeteria of this very courthouse. The next time you met her was 8 months later. You met her again on the day that she stole your cold medicine. And Doug Swallow was killed. Oh, that was his name, Doug Swallow. No way. It can't be true. I mean, during our whole relationship, we were... For those 8 months, the woman that you thought was Dahlia Hawthorne wasn't actually my sister. It wasn't Dahlia? I hope one day you can forgive me. Feeny. You? You mean... That's right. I lied to you. For 8 months. But why? Why would you do such a thing? Ever since she gave you the bottle that day, my sister was trying to get it back as soon as she possibly could. Because of the police investigation and their surveillance, she couldn't move about freely. So that's why you... My sister, from the beginning, she was prepared for the worst. Prepared for the worst? She thought that you might somehow discover the truth. That's why she always ready... Wait. Oh, that's why she was always ready to deal with you at a moment's notice. I mean, she was ready to kill me, don't you? She already had so much to answer for. I didn't want any more sins on her soul. I begged her not to do it, and she agreed to give me a chance. And that's why you came to me. You came to get the bottle pendant back from me in her place. But I couldn't get you to give it back. I failed at something even as simple as that. 8 months passed and I still couldn't get it back from you. Finally, my sister couldn't wait any longer. She didn't consult me about her plans for you that day. It was the first time that it had ever happened. That was a bit strange, wasn't it? Up until that day, you two were partners in crime and she would confer with you. I think she must have noticed. Noticed what? My feelings for you. If I had found out she was planning to kill you, I would have done whatever was necessary to stop her. Even if it meant her life. Or mine. Iris. After spending those 8 months by your side, my feelings towards you, they changed. I have something to say to you, too. Yes? You really are the person I always thought you were. Even after Dahlia Hawthorne was found guilty, I still believed in you. Thank you. That's wholesome. How many cups of darkness have I drank over the years? Even I don't know. I'll tell you though. Right now, this one here is the greatest cup I think I've ever had. Don't you think so? Phoenix, right? Yeah, I think you're right. The purpose of this trial was to rule on the murder of the victim, at least in Nim. At some point, I expect you will be tried for your role as an accomplice in this case. I understand, Your Honor. Very well. On the charge of murder, I hereby find the defendant not guilty! Court is now adjourned. Hey, this is me coming in during editing to say that this video has gone on for way long enough. So we'll do the conclusion next time. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, like or subscribe button down below. Don't forget to check out my channel, and if you're live on Twitch or sometimes I stream live, you can check out that link down in the description below. One thing that's okay, I will catch all of you in the next one. So take care.